Hey, folks. This is Jesse Cope back with another episode of the American Soul Podcast. Hope y'all are doing well wherever y'all are and whatever part of the day you're in. Sure to appreciate you joining me, giving me a little bit of your time and attention. We'll try and use it wisely. Hopefully it helps you get through part of your day and maybe helps us all to be a little bit better prepared to defend our country, try and take her back, and hopefully it helps our country just a little bit. Not a lot going on the homestead. Getting a little rain, a light mist, which is nice. Weather has turned off a little cooler, which is also nice. And what few plants we have still growing in the garden, appreciate both of those things. Father, thank you for today. Thank you for you, Father, and your Son, Jesus Christ, and your Holy Spirit. Thank you for the time to record this podcast. Thank you for the people that listen to it and share it. Be with them and their families. Guide them, bless them. Protect them from evil of any kind. Give us a strong faith. Father, please, wisdom and courage. Help us to turn back to you with our actions, not just with the words of our mouths, both individually and as a nation. Help us to line our actions up with the priorities that we claim to have, Father. Watch over those who are hurting, those we each know individually and those we don't. Those who feel alone, be with them, Lord. Comfort them. Give them your peace, and us as well. And guide my words here today, Father, please. In your Son's name we pray, amen. So we're going to go back to Lincoln again. I'm not even going to pretend to guess how long. If you didn't get a chance to listen to the podcast from yesterday and the first couple paragraphs in this address of Lincoln's, this day of national humiliation, fasting, and prayer from March the 30th, 1863, not really for my commentary so much, folks, but if you get a chance, highly recommend that you go and listen to that, listen to his words from the Civil War, because that's exactly where we're headed again today. Listen to or read his words if you want to. If you haven't, sign up for the newsletter. And those newsletters have the one from today anyway, yesterday too, I think. Should have a copy of his, at least a PDF, or at least the words in the newsletter, so you can go back and read it. It's a great example, folks, again, of how poor a job we're doing in public education today. Not because we have poor counselors or poor teachers, poor administrators, uh, poor coaches. We do. We have quite a few, but we also have quite a few really good ones, folks. I know I've talked to them. I've been around them. People that really care about kids, want what's best for them, want what's best for our schools and our communities and our nation, our states and our nation. But We've tied their hands, folks. We've made it impossible because of, primarily, first and foremost, because of separation of church and state, because we don't have Bible-based, God and Jesus Christ-based centered education today. And so that makes it impossible, no matter how good these people are, for them to really produce students that are strengthening our nation. You can't do it without God. But this is just a great example, because I guarantee you 99%, maybe 99 point something percent of students in America don't know of this proclamation. And it's a pivotal, a fundamental proclamation made by Lincoln during some of the darkest days of our nation, to give light and hope and encouragement and counsel, and to lead us as a nation, as peoples, to turning back to God. I mean, that, if you've got English or history class, this ought to be probably something that you touch on at least once a semester, at least, if not once in 9 weeks or 6 weeks, and go back and talk with the kids about it. And the idea that we don't have time, right? Because I know some of y'all out there who are listening are thinking that, and you're right, in a sense. The teachers, they don't have time because they have so much other junk that's being required today, so much other quote unquote professional development, or so much other testing, or keeping up with the testing percentages, like going back and just, and the amount of stuff that they have to do in the classroom is beyond ridiculous. And the administrators too. I mean, they're in the same boat. The counselors, we put all this stuff on their plate that's not important, that they shouldn't be doing. They don't have time for the stuff that they ought to be doing. So if you get a chance, go back and listen to those first couple paragraphs. I'm going to keep moving because I want to make sure we get through some of this. So this is, I think, the third paragraph, second paragraph.
And insomuch as we know that by his divine law nations, like individuals, are subjected to punishments and chastisements in this world, may we not justly fear that the awful calamity of civil war, which now desolates the land, may be but a punishment inflicted upon us for our presumptuous sins, to the needful end of our national reformation as a whole people. We have been the recipients of the choicest bounties of heaven. We have been preserved these many years in peace and prosperity. We have grown in numbers, wealth, and power as no other nation has ever grown. But we have forgotten God. We have forgotten the gracious hand which preserved us in peace and multiplied and enriched and strengthened us. And we have vainly imagined in the deceitfulness of our hearts that all these blessings were produced by some superior wisdom and virtue of our own. Intoxicated with unbroken success, we have become too self-sufficient to feel the necessity of redeeming and preserving grace, too proud to pray to the God that made us. It behooves us, then, to humble ourselves before the offended power, to confess our national sins, and to pray for clemency and forgiveness. So, here again, just phenomenal amount. You could unpack this for days. obviously, again, it's easy to see how readily this could be incorporated into English and history classes. Really, you could do it with art as well. You could do it in a number of different classes, and how important it is. This is another educational comment. Our education system has declined so much, and a lot of it, you hear all this new math, new English, Common Core this. We're gonna change the way we read. We're gonna change the principles we use. We're gonna change the way we teach English. We're gonna change the way we teach math. We're gonna add all these acronyms and unwraps and redos and whatever else, and we're gonna. Well, there's so many different things we can talk about, but the whole point was, we used to memorize this stuff. There were things that were worth memorizing, and this is one of them. This is something that you can easily see the importance of to any American citizen in memorizing and knowing by heart. As a high school student, for sure, even as a junior high student, this ought to be something that is required to be memorized, to know. And the idea that, well, that's old teaching. Well, the old teaching, folks, did a lot better than the new teaching that we're doing today. And if you can't admit that, then you're not ready for an honest conversation. So how do we break this down? God's divine laws, nations and individuals. So not just private life, again, folks. Lincoln's saying here is our public life, and that's really what he focused on. That's one of the things in this that gives such evidence to the lie of separation of church and state is Lincoln's starting off here, nations, right, like individuals, are subjected to punishments and chastisements in this world. What we do matters, folks. There's gonna be penalties when we do the wrong thing. Abortion, LGBTQ, IA plus, minus, equal, whatever. Critical race theory, identity politics, illegal immigration, no-fault divorce. These moral sins have repercussions. You can see them when we go against God's commands, just like they do in our individual life when we choose to cheat and steal and commit adultery and every other kind of sexual sin, drunkenness, gluttony. All of these things, folks, they have consequences. And you see it. And he's saying, so Lincoln says, so this awful calamity of civil war, which now desolates our land, may be but a punishment inflicted upon us for our presumptuous sins, to the needful end of our national reformation as a whole people. So he's saying, look, this civil war brought about, possibly, to turn us back to God. Isn't there a chance there? And we're headed toward another civil war, folks. That's exactly where we're headed toward. Civil war on the one hand, slavery to leftism, socialism, communism on the other hand. And either way, I say there's a good chance, just to try and be completely honest, but it's almost impossible to look around and doubt that God's not tapping us on the shoulder saying, hey, you need to stop. And it may be too late already, folks. We may have turned away from him for too long. I mean, it's never, I want to make sure I'm being clear here, it's never too late to turn back to God. And we absolutely have to as individuals. And there's a chance that he might save a remnant of this people. It may be too late to save the whole nation. Doesn't mean we shouldn't fight for it. I'm never going to be pro-secession, folks. I can't ever see that. I'm always going to be preserve the Union, the mentality of Lincoln and Grant, not of Davis and Lee and any of the others. But that's where we're headed. He says we've been the recipients of the choicest bounties of heaven. So God has given us the very best of everything. He's taken care of us in peace and prosperity. We've grown in numbers and wealth and power as no other nation has ever grown, folks. And this was still true. It's still, we have been given more than any other nation in the history of the world. But we've forgotten God. And there it is. I mean, there's the whole thing, folks. We've forgotten God. We've forgotten the gracious hand which preserved us in peace and multiplied and enriched and strengthened us. And we have vainly imagined. It's been a while since I read this. Maybe since last year, I don't remember. But that one little part of that sentence always snags me. We have vainly imagined in the deceitfulness of our hearts that all these blessings were produced by some superior wisdom and virtue of our own. We think we're so good, we're so fast, we're so strong, we're so smart, we're so pretty, whatever it is. We think all these blessings as a nation are because of us. Intoxicated with unbroken success, we've become too self-sufficient to feel the necessity of redeeming and preserving grace. Too proud to pray to the God that made us. I mean, folks, we could sit here and talk about this, just these last couple sentences, for days, and the evidence that you see in our nation of the truth of Lincoln's comments here. We think this is all due to us, and we've had so much success. You know, I saw multiple times over the last few years some shirts in different places that said two-time world champions or World War champions. It was talking about the fact that America, more or less came in and helped win those two world wars. But we don't acknowledge, there was nowhere on the shirt that I remember that God was acknowledged anywhere. You know, we have a lot of citizens that support the evil, godless values of the left. They don't want anything to do with God. They're open about it. They reject God publicly, which really probably means for a good chunk of them, they reject God privately, although there's some exceptions that prove the rule. But then on the other side, on the patriotic side, you have a lot of people that put all their faith in America as an institution. They'll wave the flag and they'll sing patriotic songs, might even sing God Bless the USA, but they don't really care about the God part. You know, it's just USA, the stars and stripes. If you don't have God as the underlying foundation for that support, you're missing the whole point. And you can see an analogy. There's a great analogy in marriage when he's talking about self-sufficient. You know, we've forgotten God. We don't need him anymore. A good friend of mine years ago said that the reason we have so many divorces today is because men and women have forgotten that they need each other. We have our own jobs, our own money, our own circles of friends, and we don't think that we need each other anymore. And so we just go our own way. And we look up one day and we really don't need each other anymore. Or at least that's what we think. And we get divorced. And that's what's going on with us as a nation spiritually. We've become so proud and so arrogant. And so we think we're so self-sufficient that we think we don't need God anymore. And so we're just going our own way. We could sit here and talk some more, folks, but what does Lincoln say then? He said, "It behooves us then to humble ourselves before the offended power, to confess." We actually have to confess and admit our national sins, folks. All those things I listed just a while ago. And to pray for clemency and forgiveness. We can't be too proud to pray to the God that made us. If you get a chance, share the podcast with somebody today, please. Sign up for the newsletter if you'd like to get that each morning. It makes it easier to share the podcast. Sign up for the exclusive episodes, $3 a month. Get you access. God bless y'all. God bless your families. God bless your marriages. God bless America. We'll talk to y'all again real soon, folks. Looking forward to it.